Down in 5. Good morning, everybody, and thank you and welcome to today's Operational Services Committee meeting. I am your chair with the most curly hair, Councillor Chris Thiessen, for this meeting, joined by the glorious Gladys Blackmore, the great Grant Berg, and our beloved Mayor Jackie Clayton as our committee representatives. I'll call this meeting to order and look for delegations. Seeing none, I'll move right into reports and I'll turn it over to our Chief Glavin for a service area update.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. We'll start off with energy and environment. This weekend was the drop and swap event. There were over 200 people waiting for the event to open. There was over 10,000 pounds of clothing distributed to more than 400 people over 4 hours, which is a substantial increase over previous years. And staff would also like to recognize Councillors O'Toole and Palat, who apparently did a lot of heavy lifting over the course of the event as well. In engineering services, the city still has 3 projects underway that will close before, I suppose, officially winter starts here at some point, but we are currently not concerned that they won't be completed this year. In facilities, the Eastlink Center shutdown is more or less complete, with the exception of the 25-meter pool, which is anticipated to open on November 6th. In transit, ridership continues to grow for the late night service, and staff is planning to bring forward a report later this year just to give council an update on the program's continued uptake. In transportation, we have crews that are continuing to monitor the Bear Creek corridor and remove beaver dams. Recently worked with the county for some dams on the southern end of the city and into the county. They're still removing some additional dams. There are a couple dams that likely won't be removed, and that's strategic based on not wanting any beavers that weren't trapped to start harvesting again and continuing. So we'll monitor them over the winter and into spring, and then we'll remove them at that time. With the colder weather and snow arriving, we do have all of our snow equipment operational, and we have crews monitoring the roads and doing targeted ice control as necessary. And with that, I will take any questions.
Great, thank you very much for that update, Chief Glavin. We'll turn it over to our committee members for any questions and council for any questions. I got one from the great Grant Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. So, Chief Glavin, with the 3 construction projects that are still underway, are there any significant projects out there? I could think of a couple small ones, but just not sure of the scale.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So the 3 we have in Crystal Lake, there's a small residential loop, and then some repairs to storm pipe that are underway, and again, not concerned about them, and they're getting complete before the end of the year. In Mount View, 112th Avenue, there's a local road construction that is nearing completion. And then Range Road 64, there's some ditch drainage improvements that are being conducted.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious on the 102nd Street Aquaterra project. How's that coming along?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. Yeah, along 101st, I believe all the underground is complete and just concrete and paving now, I think, is the last I heard.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you for that, Councillor Berg. I got Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Director Glavin, I think I know the answer, but can you just, for public information, tell me how the urban landscaping went on the tree planting on the west end of town? Everything was completed as suspected. It'll be watered into the ground until the ground's frozen. Just tell us a bit of background on that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen. So as part of the urban forest strategy that was approved by council, we did tree bed planting from the intersection of 112th Street along 100th Avenue west to the 116th Street intersection. That is complete and was successful, came in with the resources that were allocated for it. We will continue maintaining that and ensure that it grows properly over the next few years as it establishes. I believe they were going to be working with comms to do a little bit on that so that the community had a little better understanding of what is going on there.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mayor Clayton. Any other questions from committee or council? I do have one. I'm a committee member, so I guess I can pull my own number. In regards to transportation and the road network, you did mention 3 projects on Councillor Berg's question. One project that maybe I missed or is there's some curb and gutter, some storm and sidewalks being done on the corner of, I guess it's 92nd along 68th up to the train tracks. So 92nd Street and 68th up to the train tracks. It looks like they're significantly behind as far as putting in the curb and gutter and stuff like that. Is that one of the projects that we hope will be cleaned up by the end of the year?
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. I believe that is on private. That's a part of a development that's happening at that site, and that's being managed by the property owner. So it's not a city project. So at the moment, that's not something we're monitoring or currently concerned about the completion of it, but we'll certainly, as part of the development process, we'll monitor that.
So just a question of clarity on that one. There's also road work going on the south side of that street. Is that part of the private owner's responsibility as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I guess you're off the hook there. Thanks for answering those questions, Chief Glavin. Moving right along, we'll keep it in your portfolio. We got a streetlight update. I'll look to Chief Glavin to introduce this, and then we have Ms. Gardner here to present.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So, Council requested the administration bring back a report on lights over 20 years, or streetlights over 20 years old, from ATCO. Through discussions with ATCO, they don't keep track of their assets quite that way. They do it based on condition assessments. So there's lights of varying ages throughout the city, but they're all generally marked as with a condition as opposed to an age. I will turn it over to Ms. Gardner.
Good morning. Yes, as Chief Glavin said, there isn't a detailed inventory list. They do have an inventory list that was done a couple of years ago, and it identified 375 lights that are older than 15 years and some that are at 40 years of age. But the way ATCO manages their inventory would be based on the asset number. So to pull that inventory list of 7,000 lights and then try and coordinate the data would be a substantial amount of work. What ATCO does is every 2 years they do a quarter of the city and they go through and they look at the lights, and lights are replaced at end of life, whether or not they are 20 or 25 years of age. So it's just if they're at the end of life. Some may last 40 years. It's dependent on conditions, so the environment they're in. One of the things that they find that is the biggest impact on streetlights is salt spray, and that is really hard on them, and they'll replace those more frequently. As of yesterday, so October 23rd, there was approximately 51 reported streetlights that were out. ATCO is working diligently to have these repairs completed. There was just over 140 that were reported out between June to now, and so over the summer they've repaired those, and then LED is starting to be swapped out at that time. The other question during the meeting was about dimming lights during certain periods of time, and this can be done, and it's at a cost of $250 per DABIT. So as the street lights aren't metered, there would be no savings to do that, just an additional cost of the $250. So it could be done. It would depend on the reason why you wanted it to be done. If it was just to dim the lighting, so for more darker skies, then it is something that could be possible. And with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thanks for that report, Ms. Gardner. Appreciate it. I see Councillor Berg and then Councillor Blackmore.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. Just one point of clarity. With the lights that are burnt out that are being fixed, are they being replaced with LED?
Chair Thiessen, yes. That is as they were replacing lights, they were swapping out LEDs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Berg. Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Can you tell me the numbers again for the lights that are currently out that they're fixing?
So, Chair Thiessen, we have reported yesterday an updated list from ATCO yesterday of 51 reported streetlights that are out. So those are lights that have been reported to us. So how the process works is on the city's webpage or through the contact center at info@cityofgp.com. Residents will report the lights out. We will record that and we'll report it to ATCO. Every 2 weeks, we send a spreadsheet to ATCO saying these are the lights that are up and can you give us an update of what the repairs are. And so we made sure that we had accurate numbers and it was sent to me last night.
Thank you for that. I'm curious, as we're headed into our dark season and now children are going to school in the dark, is there a priority list for repairs to lights that are in and around crosswalks or school zones? It's difficult for drivers sometimes to see small children who are dressed in dark snowsuits crossing a dark road. And for safety reasons, I'm just curious if we're making that a priority or if they have some magical process themselves for fixing lights.
Chair Thiessen, we did ask ATCO this question and they advised us that right now, based on winter hours, they are putting priority on residential areas. So that's going to hopefully encompass schools as well, but residential areas are their priority, especially with Halloween coming up next week, to ensure that kids are safe when they're out.
Thank you. And I have one more quick question.
By all means.
I have no idea what a davit is.
Chair Thiessen, it's the head.
A head?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
I gave you the little hook, little sign there. I love it when administration anticipates council's questions days before they sit before council. That's great. I have Councillor Boston in the queue and then Councillor Platt.
Thank you, Councillor Thiessen. My question is, I have two. ATCO owning the poles. If ever the city wanted technology added to these poles, what is the process of that? Do we pay a rental fee? Do we just add technology? Let's say on significant intersections or things like that. That's one question. And then the next question is, if there was a space that businesses or residents felt that there wasn't enough poles or lighting, how do they go about requesting?
Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. With regards to the adding technology to the lights, that is something that can be done. We would just work with ATCO to understand what it would. There frequently would be additional costs. So we would understand what the cost would be and then present that to council for approval. On your question regarding additional lighting, engineering looks at all lighting designs and they decide what the lighting levels will be, and we work with ATCO to ensure that it meets TAC standards. I think that's the correct standard, and the lighting is there. Frequently, residents will want additional lighting that's not warranted. So if we were going to do additional lighting, and it's not frequently that occurs, it would be an additional cost for the city to install those lights.
Okay, thank you very much for those answers and the questions. Councillor Platt.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Just going a little different direction than Councillor Bosch. I'm just wondering if we had a conversation around wanting to actually have less lighting on some of our main roads and arterial roads compared to other communities I've been in. I feel we're well lit. How would that process work with ATCO?
Excuse me.
I appreciate we got a report saying, hey, if we want to dim them, what it costs, but if there was an opportunity or a conversation around we actually want to reduce the amount of streetlights, what would be the process with that now?
Ms. Gardner.
So, Chair Thiessen, again, this would be ensuring that the lighting is meeting TAC standards. So, currently, we would need to ensure that we were meeting those standards, that there is adequate lighting. Then, so the street lights aren't necessarily in a Christmas tree light string. So you could find that they're tied into a different lighting. So it could be complex to remove the lights if was required. So by that I mean underground digging, reconnecting lines. So that would be something else that would have to be considered. It could be done. There would again be financial consequences for making those decisions.
Okay. And not to get too far, and I guess I'm confused about the TAC process. So when I drive down 92nd Street, there's not a lot of streetlights on a road that has 2 lanes of traffic, no center meridian. And when I drive down the 68th Ave, there's streetlights everywhere with two lanes, no head-ons are available. So I'm just curious how TAC, where it impacts it and how it is, to see if I want to go further with potential motions or options around that. But I've always been confused on when I see 2-lane roads with no lighting on them, how TAC impacts that versus like a 68th Ave.
Councillor Thiessen, if I could allow my colleague Christine Donnelly, the Director of Engineering, to answer that question.
For sure. I was about to say, it appears we have some engineering expertise at the table now. Ms. Donnelly.
Through the chair. So what you see out around town reflects the standards or the practice at the time that road or the infrastructure was constructed. And so standards and practices have changed over the years. Typically, we do not go back and change things until we're in there doing a full rehab, and then we look and identify all those deficiencies or concerns, and then we bring them up to current practices as part of that road rehab. So you will see different things out there. Typically, our rural cross-section roads, there are 2 lanes. We will ensure that there's lighting at the intersections. That's our current practice. At one point in time, we were doing all along the entire rural road. So you're right, you can find a bunch of different things that are out in the field, and that's just a reflection of what occurred and the decisions at that time. If we want to go back and change something and bring it up, then we would need a budget to go back and do it. One of the reasons that we typically wouldn't on the rural is when we do upgrade that road, anything we put in would have to be relocated. And so we do try and strategically make decisions about what's occurring.
So I guess I'll maybe ask a little bit. So when I look at 92nd Street currently, or 132nd Ave currently, that has very limited lighting on it, we're not breaking any TAC rules on the fact that there's almost no street lighting on those 2 roads compared to current TAC. Like I appreciate when we go to do a new development that it changes, but I'm trying to understand, we're driving down roads that have less lighting than other lightings, how TAC impacts that decision.
So TAC, Transportation Association of Canada, is a guide which professionals, based on site-specific conditions, utilized to make recommendations when that road is being designed. And so they would have used the information at that time. And being that those roads were built, you can see the lighting is where we've got the intersections, and we've brought the turning bays, and so that there's lighting at that point. Once you get past those points, we have gone away from the lighting. But you're right, it's something we do need to monitor. If we did have additional intersections, we would want to have continuous lighting.
Okay. I'm just, I guess for me, so TAC only gets triggered when we do new development? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay, through the chair. Thanks for your questions. Councillor Palat, you actually triggered one question to me. I got Councillor Blackmore in the queue here, but I'm going to pull my number quickly. Ms. Donnelly, just remind me again, that 92nd Street Road, is that developer driven? So they're doing a lot of construction on the other side. Looks like they're building some commercial stuff there. They got residential on the other side. Once that's fully built out, is the expectation that the streetlights come in then?
Through the chair. No, there's no streetlights coming in as a result of that corner commercial site that is currently being developed. So what you see is what's there.
Okay, I got some things to think about now. Councillor Blackmore.
There's a trend growing across North America, in particular, sometimes called night skies, sometimes called dark skies, where street lighting is being reduced, either in the building process, reduced there, or the dimming process, which you've already talked about briefly. Does TAC guidelines have any response to dark skies, or are they simply focused on safety? And I'm asking that because there's two different, two different ideologies that may not be in agreement there. Whereas one hand, safety is primary concern, and on the other hand, environmental issues is a primary concern, and maybe those two issues are at loggerheads. So does TAC have anything like in a residential area, maybe we want to reduce street lighting to a lower wattage or to a greater spacing of street lights? If we're following TAC as our sole source, I'm wondering if we should maybe be looking in more than one area for guiding information.
Ms. Donnelly.
Through the chair. So it is more than TAC. There are other guides that it references, and so that a designer would utilize and go to, and definitely the light pollution and all that is there's a lot of information on that as well, and so. I'm trying to recall what I recently read in there. There is definitely information. I would have to come back to you or perhaps connect you with the source materials, because off the top of my head, I'm not familiar enough to present on it.
So to clarify, our primary source of reference at this time is TAC. And if we want to look at a different source of reference, that would be a decision probably made in this room.
Ms. Donnelly?
So TAC also aligns with Illumination Association of Canada and or is it America? So there's a number of them that dovetail together. And what occurs is that we do set our expectations for someone that is professionally responsible for doing a design and the source material that they reference. But ultimately, we are expecting a professional to do a design and stamp off and take liability and responsibility for that design. So we definitely can set our standards and our expectations around where we might want lighting and what we might not want, and what considerations need to go into that design. And an aspect could be exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. I have nothing further other than I have food for thought.
I think we're all getting a little bit of food for thought here today. I like where you're going with that, Councillor Blackmore, because one thing I certainly have noticed as we make the big conversion to LED, even though it's better for the environment and our energy cost savings, one thing I've noticed is that the light spread, the illumination from the LEDs actually seems to go higher, and it seems to drown out the stars in the dark sky. So I like that was brought up here across the chamber. So thanks for bringing that up. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I just want to point out that when you brought the last report, I read that report, and it's very clear of what the standards are, and the safety of the community is really taken into consideration. So I wouldn't be messing with to try and save a few dollars to try and eliminate lights. I think we need to consider the safety in our area. And the safety of our community. When the lighting goes down, then crime goes up. And so you need to make sure that we're looking at the right things. So I just wanted to make that comment. That is very clear in those reports.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor O'Connor. I'll look around the table. I don't see any hands shooting up. We do have a Councillor Blackmore.
I would be prepared to make a motion to receive this for information, Chair Thiessen.
Thank you for that motion. That is in order. I'll look for any discussion or debate on the motion. Seeing none, we'll call it to question.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
Councillor Blackmore in favor.
And that motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Gardner and Ms. Donnelly, for the team effort there. Lights, who knew they were so blinding with the questions that are coming at us here today. All right, we have our next report is the Avondale High School site ARP, site servicing, and 105th Street cost estimates. Ms. Donnelly is remaining at the table. I'll look to Chief Glavin to introduce this and our new person at the table. Ashley.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So committee directed administration to bring back a high-level preliminary estimate on the cost of constructing the 105th 115th Street or 105th Street connector, utility servicing, and stormwater improvements. We prepared a very high-level cost estimate at this point. In order to get more accurate and comprehensive costs on this, it is required to get a engineering service study done or studies done for that area, and that would give us much higher confidence in the costs that are being presented today and any potential phasing options that could come out of that. And with that, I'll kick it over to Ms. Coulter.
Thank you. So engineering has reviewed the existing infrastructure in the Avondale High School site's ARP area, and we developed an order of magnitude cost estimate of approximately $15 million to service this area based on the information that we currently have available. The estimate considers the extension of 105th Street, completion of the traffic signals and installation of streetlights, the extension and upgrading of water, sanitary, and storm sewers, as well as the rehabilitation of the existing roadways disturbed by construction. There are numerous factors that will affect how this land is serviced, and the feasibility of this servicing method shown in the report is going to be dependent on future engineering design studies, site modeling, regulatory approvals, and the time at which development actually occurs. The servicing method provided in the report is conceptual and based on significant assumptions as identified in Attachment A. The servicing strategy shown places utilities and roadways that already have a low pavement quality index to combine deep utility installation with road rehabilitation projects when possible. Much of the existing Aquaterra infrastructure was installed in the 1950s to 1970s using outdated materials and outdated construction standards. It's anticipated the pipes will not have capacity for neighborhood intensification. The improvements shown in this report will increase the network capacity while replacing the aged infrastructure. The stormwater improvements identified hinge on the city receiving approval to construct an outfall into Bear Creek. If an outfall is not approved, the stormwater will need to be directed south at additional cost to upgrade the infrastructure down 105th Street. The specific requirements for on-site stormwater retention will be determined through modeling of the area in the engineering design reports or as a requirement prior to development permits being issued. It is anticipated that any on-site stormwater retention costs would be borne by the lot developers. This estimate is an order of magnitude estimate based off of assumptions and is subject to change as more information in the area is available. Administration is recommending that committee receive this report for information.
Thank you very much, Ms. Coulter. Sorry, I was a little slow on my microphone button. I'll look around for committee. I see Councillor Burke.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I have some real questions, but the first ones are around just simply the illustration of attachment B. So when I look at the attachment, just so I help me understand, the only thing with the legend that actually matches up is the new storm outfall. I see blue dots, but I don't see a blue dot indication. And then I just see a new roadway and different things. So, so I've got a different map than that.
Same. Through the chair.
There we go. That explains
so thank
everything.
you for the slide. That helps a lot. I guess the real question, and this will help answer some, but as I was looking at this yesterday, again, the reality is we're adding about 150 meters, yet the cost is about $15 million, which seemed excessive. So this answers a lot of those questions. I guess one of the questions that I would have as a citizen is we've already had one intensive high school there, a swimming pool. So it seems that the current infrastructure was able to handle that. So are you anticipating apartment buildings or different things in the future on part of that land? Is that part of the anticipation?
Ms. Coulter?
Through the chair, yes. So the area redevelopment structure plan shows through at the 105 Street 116th corner, there's multifamily housing as well as a commercial node.
Okay, so that's part of this planning then.
Yes.
Wonderful, and again, thank you for the slide.
Right, so I'm going to stick to committee members first. I got Mayor Clayton in the queue, then Councillor Platt, Councillor Bosch, unless other my committee members want it.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Yeah, so following on Councillor Berg's comments, this is based on the ARP with everything building out as suggested initially, right? So tell me the timing if council were to approve a dome recreation structure, what needs to be done sooner than later? Obviously, I know the timing of the road, etc., but what other things would have to be done to support the recreation facility?
Ms. Coulter?
Through the chair. We are anticipating that the dome can be serviced utilizing the existing capacity in the system. We're not anticipating any major network improvements to service the dome.
And based on either of the 3 locations that are going to council?
Through the chair. The north site,
Yep.
where it's up in the field, that one has potential for significant sanitary upgrades. But other than that, aside from the stormwater retention that we're aware of, there should not be major improvements required beyond the parking lot storage.
Perfect. So this could be a phased-in approach based on the build-out of the ARP. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for that question, Mayor Clayton. You took mine. Councillor Platt.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. That also helped with me as well. I'm just curious, though. We have road rehab and storm being redone in there. If we don't do anything with the dome or Avondale in any way, wouldn't those normally be just triggered as part of storm upgrades and road rehabilitations? And if they're coming that way, would we let them run their course of that? I mean, we've been pretty conscious about not replacing assets till they need to be replaced. So I'm just curious in this context, if we didn't do the dome and that wasn't a conversation, when do we anticipate that we would actually need to do this storm upgrade and these road rehabilitations?
Ms. Coulter?
Through the chair. So the storm sewer improvements shown on this site are for intensification. If we're not doing significant development in that area beyond the dome, which we will assume is going to be self-contained within its property, the current service level would be generally maintained. There are currently issues downstream on 105 Street that the city is aware of. Those improvements can be done whenever budget was allocated to it. But as far as triggering, we need to do a rehab right now. The stormwater pipe in the area is currently in good condition. The road PQIs are lower on those local roads, which is why we paired those deep utilities with the lower quality roads now. If this didn't build out for a longer period of time, say 20 years, and the roads were already redone, it would probably be prudent to look at a different servicing strategy, like putting the sanitary down 104th Street, which may be aged at that time. So try and combine your improvements together.
Okay. And I'm not sure if this question would be for engineering, but I'm just wondering if I remember right on the area structure plan redevelopment, the land that's future commercial is still PWA's land currently, isn't it? Or
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Yes, I believe there's a bit of overlap with the city as well, but majority of it is on PWA land.
okay, well, thanks for that. So that answers all my questions.
Thank you for those, Councillor Platt. I'll go to Councillor Bosch.
My question was asked. Thank you.
Oh, we got one of those committees today. I have a question just in regards to the transportation network. So I did catch on that one sentence that the upgrades identified in the report will not be necessary to facilitate the creation of the dome. If the dome does get put there, do we anticipate heavier traffic flows, or is the current standard of roadway and parking lot there and pedestrian thoroughfare, is that sufficient?
Through the chair, given that there was already similar recreation uses in that area and a high school that was the same, I wouldn't anticipate the level of service would decrease. As far as the parking lot design goes, we have limited information right now on what the actual occupancy and what the structure of the dome would look like to dictate how many parking spots are required through our land use bylaw, but there is discretion through the development authority to determine how many parking spots we feel is appropriate. So as far as parking lots.
Sorry, I might have confused it by adding parking. I was just talking about traffic flow. So we don't anticipate there'll be any obstruction or bottlenecks happening there.
Through the chair, I wouldn't anticipate it being significantly different than when the leisure center and everything was also active.
Awesome. Well, I was trying to throw up a softball question there. Made it a little more complicated, I think. Look around to the rest of my committee members for any further questions or council. Seeing none, Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Councillor Thiessen. I would move that committee receive this for information.
Thank you for that motion. It is in order. I'll look for discussion or debate. Seeing none, I'll call the question. And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us here today. And we look forward to seeing you back again soon sometime. All right, moving right along. I'll look to committee, seeing as we have no other business besides in camera. Would we like to take care of the outstanding items list now or after our in camera session? All right, okay. I'll look for the outstanding items list update from Chief Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. 2 items that can be removed, items 1279 and 1288. And other than that, everything else should be on schedule.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Just something to note on the e-scribe. Just a couple things. The map was different, but it is on the webpage. The map was the one that our Ms. Coulter showed us. So, and then there is no outstanding items list here, but there's on the website as well. So it's just something to be mindful of in the future. But that motion is in order. Look for a motion. Grande Prairie.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I would like committee to receive the October 24th outstanding items list as amended for information.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That motion is in order. I'll look for a discussion or debate. Seeing none, I'll call the question. And that item carries. All right, so that would conclude normally our committee meeting, but we do have one item left in camera, and I'll look for a committee member to make a motion. Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. I would like to make a motion that committee go in camera.
All right, that motion is in order. Please vote. Awesome, that carries, and we'll just wait to go in camera here. And welcome back to our Operational Services Committee meeting. We are back from in camera, and I'll turn it over to Chief Glavin to introduce our next report.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. In June, Council approved the conversion of the city streetlights to go from invested to non-invested. The changes that were approved need to be reflected in the franchise agreement, and the proposed changes today will reflect those within it, subject to Council's approval after public hearing. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Gardner.
Thank you for that, Chief Glavin. Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. In April of 2015, Council passed Bylaw C-1311, which established the ATCO Electric Franchise Agreement. This agreement allows ATCO to provide electric distribution services within our municipality. The current franchise agreement is set to expire in 2025. However, there's a need to update the agreement earlier than the expiry date due to conversion from non-invested lights to invested lights. It's important to note that the electric distribution services are regulated by the Alberta Utilities Commission, and the Commission must approve all franchise agreements. To proceed with this agreement, Council must adopt a new bylaw. The amendments to the franchise agreement, which will be a new agreement, not an extension, is removal of the requirement that all new street lights that the city puts in place will be placed on the non-investment rate and will be converted to an invested rate. We will replace the condition in Section 15A, which is upon receipt of responsible notice from the municipality, with upon receipt of 1 year's notice from the municipality for responsibilities for cost relocations. This change allows for better planning and coordination in the event of cost relocations. And the addition of Schedule C, street lighting, which outlines specific service levels for streetlights. This addition provides clarity and transparency regarding the expected service standards for streetlights within the municipality. The next step to ensure that this step is crucial to ensure that the next stages in the franchise agreement process, as outlined by the AUC, can occur. Once first reading is given, ATCO will replace an advertisement in local newspapers, allowing residents to comment on the agreement. After 14 days, ATCO will prepare an application which will be forwarded to the Alberta Utilities Commission for approval. Upon approval of the application by the AUC, the Commission will issue a decision to ATCO and the City. After receiving this decision, the City may proceed with second and third readings of the bylaw and signing of the franchise agreement. In conclusion, these amendments to the ATCO franchise agreement are essential to adapting to the changing needs and to provide a more flexible and responsive service to our residents. So administration is recommending that the Operational Services Committee recommend Council give first reading of Bylaw C-1467 on Monday, October 30th Council meeting.
Thank you for that, Ms. Gardner, and I'm sure you're ready and waiting for any questions that might arise from this. I see one light bulb going on over there. It's the glorious Grandperk.
Just simply to do business, Chair.
All right, you may proceed, and if there's discussion or debate, we can go from the motion.
Okay, I will make that motion that Ms. Gardner just had mentioned. I had one hen scratched out, but I like hers much better, so we'll roll with that one.
All right, and that would be that to recommend Council have first reading of Bylaw C-1467, allowing the municipality to enter into an electric distribution system franchise agreement for October 30th.
Yes, thank you. It just popped up on my e-scribe as well. Thanks.
Una Matata, who are here as a team. I'll look for discussion or debate. Seeing none, I will call the question.
Councillor Blackmore in favour.
Councillor Thiessen in favour. And that motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Gardner, and to all staff and our committee members and council for being here today. This meeting is hereby adjourned.